Hello and welcome to the next 100 Days podcast. My name is Graham Arrowsmith.
And my name's Kevin Appleby. So, Graham, we're off to Australia today to talk to Paul Collins. Now, Paul was recommended to us by Jan Skye from Brain Potential, who was on a number of episodes ago, and we had a great conversation with Jan. So I've got great hopes of what we're going to learn from Paul today.
Yeah, she was very popular, Jan, and she had, you could tell that she had like a wicked sense of humour. And if she knows Paul Collins, then that's really, I suppose, a good sign, really, because Paul, welcome to the next 100 Days podcast.
And thank you very much for inviting me. And I do agree completely that my conversations with Jan definitely suggest she has a wicked sense of humour.
Yeah.
It aligns with my northern English sense of humour. I can assure you that.
Say, we're talking to you in Southeast Australia today, but that is not an Australian accent. So how did all that come about?
And you know, after 20 years here, you would think it would dissolve a little bit, but it hasn't. Yeah. So back in 2001, just after September 11, I was on a very, very quiet flight over to Australia. Just one of those chance conversations, and here I am, and decided to stay. So that's definitely where I met Jan as well. But of course, Australia is very English as well.
The police were on the plane behind you, chasing you, but you managed to get away then, presumably.
Yeah. There is another story there, I have to say, Graham, but we'll leave that for now. Yes.
Fair enough.
And it wasn't the police. It was something else, but not a big deal.
Oh, right. Fair enough. Okay. So basically you've settled. What part of Australia? Are you? Is it Sydney, that area?
No, I'm actually in Brisbane, which is classified as subtropical. Yeah. And my fan is blowing above me because we're now in summer.
Wow.
Completely opposite to you guys, of course. And summer is our wet season. So humid, storms, and in about half an hour's time, you'll probably hear it through the window. So.
Oh, wow. So that's quite a change from Blackburn then, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah, well, almost indescribable. Having said that, before I left the UK, I actually lived in the Trough of Bowland.
Oh, right. That's lovely there.
So, Blackburn was my birthplace, but moved on from there. But it is a very, very different place. I have to say the biggest difference for anyone that's interested, and forget about poisonous snakes and all of that, it's actually the scale. You know, what I used to consider a long drive in the UK, you know, going from Blackburn to Manchester, literally here it's going to the shops. You know, it's it's just a scale thing.
Well, we've had a couple of guests actually, Jan as well as Holly Smith, who was also, we'll reference her in the show notes, but basically Holly's also in your area as well. So, you know, we seem to attract people from Brisbane, Kevin. I don't know what's going on.
Isn't Brisbane the place that everybody in Neighbours went to when they left the series?
Oh, it probably is, yeah. Brisbane is the country town, you know, as far as the rest of Australia. But very soon, because we got the 2032 Olympics, you can imagine what that does to infrastructure. So, Brisbane is now a grown-up city. Yeah.
Oh, well, good for you. I noticed behind you, for those people watching us eventually on YouTube or whatever, you have something called Skills TX. Now you're going to have to unpick that for us. Skills TX.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. There's been a bit of a journey there. Originally, it was skills transformation.
Right.
And we've rebranded quite recently, and we've realized that actually the TX is talent experience. So we're all about, as the tagline suggests, you know, recognizing potential, giving people the opportunity to be the best they can be. And Skills TX sort of encapsulate it. We're all about skills and we're all about experience. And the more people can, you know, use those skills within the workplace, the better it is for everybody, the workplace and the individual.
So is your client the individual within the workplace, or is your client the HR person who basically, I don't know, wants more out of their workers?
That's a fantastic question. I'm going to be very brutal about this. Our real client is the employee. That's what we're all about. However, the people that pay the money to keep our business going are the HR, the senior leadership in the technology teams, the capability development people. So whenever we get involved with a client, we're all about the employee, to the point of, sometimes we'll walk away because if their goal is not to, develop their employees, that's not a client for us. But let's be honest, 99% of organizations these days recognize it's all about the people. So, but ultimately, when I look at the way we created our solution, it really is right down. We actually have a hashtag called We Own Our Skills. And I think that really encapsulates it. It's about, every day you go to work, you're just renting your skills. Mm-hmm. When you walk out the door at night, you take your skills home. Yeah. The employer doesn't own your skills. So that's where we sort of come from.
Right, I understand. So when you are kind of brought into a company, it's because somebody recognizes what exactly?
There's probably three things, actually. I won't take them in any sort of particular order, but one of them that really comes through quite prominent is engaging with your workforce. If you look at the reasons people leave, it's because they don't see a future with their employer. Yeah. So we absolutely tap into that. There's another aspect that actually over the last few weeks has actually changed quite a bit because, Meta and Twitter are shedding people, but there still is a skill shortage. Mm-hmm. So you really need to engage your workforce, understand what they're able to do in order that you can deliver your business services.
I don't want to get too political, but the people that Twitter got rid of are probably not technical in any way whatsoever.
It'll be interesting. I'm going to put a proposition out there, which is going to be controversial. I don't think they even knew.
No,
I don't think they even measured the skills of the workforce. It was probably done on job title. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't look inside, but most of the organizations we deal with see people as a job title, not a person with skills. And that's really a really subtle, differentiator. I'm a CEO, but there's lots of CEOs and we've got lots of different skills. Yeah. Because of my background to where I got to compared to somebody else's would be a different path. And that's what we try to uncover. And like I said, the third part of that is literally the business risk. Yeah. There's lots of stories out there, particularly in Australia right now, in terms of, security breaches. And a lot of that comes right down to you didn't have the right skills. And you never bothered to ask the question, what skills do we actually have? Job titles are not skills. So, so that's...
Yeah. Okay. So somebody brings you in, and you're going to almost like map the skills base that a company has, and they probably don't even realize that they're sat on, some very helpful skills that they can exploit's the wrong word, but that they can use to their advantage.
Well, exploit's not a bad word, I have to say. As long as in the right context, if I've got skills and my employer wants to exploit them, that's actually quite a good thing. It means I'm able to do what I'm good at, I liken it to, imagine this, so you've got a warehouse and the warehouse is full of inventory and you want to build a product and you'd go to your, stock list and you'd know whether you've got the right products to build whatever it is. Let's talk about digital transformation as an example. If you're going to go through that, you need an inventory to know that you can deliver. And the inventory in most organizations is this, they'll walk down an aisle in the warehouse and the aisle's called project managers. And they think they know what those skills are. The skill they actually need is in an aisle called business analysts. But they've never done an inventory to actually understand the skills that I actually need are in the wrong aisle, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So I see it pretty much every single day that the labels that are applied to us, and you guys have got labels, Graham, Kevin, what are your labels? Like consultant, tell me,
Yeah, well, Kevin, you want to go first?
Titles.
Yeah, titles. Give me titles.
Managing director of my own company, COO of Grow CFO, podcast host, consultant.
Yeah. And beneath all that, Kevin, are the actual things that you do, and you do really well. And there'll be another podcast host that will have different skills.
Yeah.
So titles, I have to say, and we're not going to get rid of them because the world uses them for paying, remuneration, but they are really deceptive. They don't really tell us the person and the skills that person actually has. Graham, what about yourself? What
they're similar, but the titles, I can't say that I've ever been a great lover of titles. Certainly on my own, I mean, officially, I'm a managing director of my companies actually, but the way I would describe myself is somebody who's going to listen, going to create something, going to solve problems, because effectively that's what folk turn up at my door at. Well, I actually don't turn up at my door. That was weird, but basically, they ring me and we have that conversation. We connect, and basically, you can see through the experience that I've got over years that I can apply that to their particular circumstance, and then we move into solutions. So I don't know. I mean, the skills, I guess, a bit like Kevin and I have on this podcast, is that we listen. And a lot of the people who've given us feedback on our podcast style is that we tend to listen quite well. And we ask appropriate questions, which is quite amazing given the amount of research that Kevin and I do on guests, which, I mean, between us, you could put a fag paper between us and the research, and then another fag paper. So basically, the very, very little. But the point being is that we just enjoy the conversation, and it's almost like we're in a pub or we're in a nice convivial setting, and effectively we're having a conversation with a purpose.
There you are, Graham. You've just proved what Paul's saying. You and I would both purport to have the same job title for our own business, managing director. Now, we know that our skills are completely different to each other.
Yeah,
probably very, very complementary, very little overlap.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the point. And you're looking for a managing director, or in Grow CFO, people are looking for a CFO. Now, we know straight away that we've defined 3 completely different types of CFO in general. We've put a competency framework together that's identified 9 competencies, 45 skills. Everybody's profile is different on the competency framework, where 200 or 300 people take it now. What Paul is saying is absolutely right. Every individual is very different, and loads of people with the same job title can bring something completely different to the party.
But when you're hired, though, Kevin, and this, Paul. I mean, when you're hired into a company, there's this little sort of job description, and there's almost like a little square hole that somebody's described that says, I need a person for this job, which is effectively what's bankrolling the job. That we need a new marketing assistant, or we need whatever, a financial controller, whatever it is. There's a chunk of money that's going to be paid, or Alice has just left and we need another Alice. Whatever it is, it's kind of described. Now, if Alice was the marketing assistant and she's gone, you're not going to get Alice back. You're going to get Dorothy or John or whoever to come in, and they're going to be different. So this is a minefield. How do you cope?
You guys have brought an internal smile to me, because you just described it beautifully, and obviously get it. So let me use an anecdote to explain how we see the world. So 6 months ago, we needed a customer success manager. And I use a skill framework. It's called Sophia, Skill Framework for the Information Age. It's a very broad framework. It's really a framework for the digital world we live in. And I created a job profile for somebody I needed.
Yeah.
And guess what? The person that we recruited was a 50% match. Now, many recruiters say, you must be crazy. Like, they can only do half the job. But the really important thing is, I know the half the job they can do right now, and I know the half the job they can't do.
Yeah.
And the half that they can't do, will support and mentor and give them every opportunity to develop. Yeah. And the half they can do is productivity. Just go do that. So all of these things you can do, I know what they are, and we'll just let you go run with that. The half that you can't do, we're going to build. And within 4 months' time, that guy is now 75% match. So we built, and now he's on his next job. Wow. So we've rolled that in to say, okay, you were customer success, now you're senior customer success.
Yeah. And
he's the guy that's ringing me saying, hey, I'm 75% now. What's my next bit? And that's what so the person is a series of skills.
Yeah.
Of course, we use job titles and roles, and that's how we pay remuneration. But ultimately, it's down to the skills of the person.
Yeah, I do like that. I first of all, I like the bravery of the match, and we probably all. I mean, I did an MBA years ago, and basically one of the things that cropped up in that was to do with recruiting, and they said that the interview was one of the least predictive of outcomes. As in, you could interview somebody and you'd get you might as well just toss a coin. Well, tossing a coin probably going to give you a better result. But the point is, it was in the sort of single figures likelihood of getting a great outcome. So and actually, the other part to this that I can't, the skills thing, as you said, that you can drag certain skills along with you that you've got and you came in with, but then you develop skills as you, and particularly with your guy, he's developed additional skills, but you do that in a company and you don't finish where you start at. So
that's right.
This, as I said, this role, you must be offering tremendous value to companies to try and understand that very dynamic.
And Graham, there's an aspect to this which it's a little bit frustrating, being controversial, that many companies don't understand. Sending people on a training course is 10% of acquiring a skill. An opportunity to practice it is way more important. So every single thing that our people do in our company is a development activity. So if I, see that there's a skill that's not fully developed, I'm not going to drop somebody in the deep end and it's going to risk the business and risk their, mental health. Yeah. I'm going to see it as, look, we've got a skill here. Maybe let's use Sophia as an example. It's marketing at level 4. And there's a very clear description of what that is. We're going to give you every opportunity to develop that skill. We're going to give you the opportunity to practice that skill. And at a certain point in time, we'll agree that you actually have that skill. But it hasn't been invisible. We haven't said the job title says you should do all these things and you're going to do them. We actually see where the gaps are and we work on those gaps. And it means that from a business, I don't expose the business to, like a client and one of our people that can't do the work. And I'm not exposing our people to something that they're not fully developed in.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether you guys are familiar with this. It's called the 10, 20, 70 pyramid. And it's the pyramid to developing a skill.
Right.
I think it's Bloom's taxonomy that developed it. Right. 10% of developing a skill is training. And that's basically read a book and pass an exam. You wouldn't get on a plane with a pilot that read a book and passed an exam, would you? So the next phase of that is mentoring and coaching. And that's when you're the co-pilot and someone is helping you. And eventually they'll give you a little bit more and a little bit more. And after you practice it for 10,000 hours, you're then competent. And that's when you truly have a skill. And I'm going a little bit off topic here, but you got me on a soapbox and I'm from the north of England, so I'm allowed to. I speak to clients every single day and say, do you understand the skills of your workforce? And they'll say yes, especially the big end of town, of course. They're not going to say no. You say, give me an example of your skills. And this is back to the questions that you asked me very early on, guys, which is, what is a skill? And they'll say things like Excel expert, right, or JavaScript. So I'm being a little bit technical here. JavaScript's a programming language. We all know what Excel is. It means nothing, zero. It is it's like saying to a fine furniture developer, what's your skill? I can use a power drill. There's a very big difference between me putting a shelf up and somebody building a house.
Yeah.
The power drill is insignificant. Excel and saying I'm an expert is insignificant. Does that mean I can write a pivot table, or I actually wrote the program that's Excel? Yeah. When we bring a proper framework into it, we clearly define what the activities are. And the activities are way more important than the tools. So when I describe somebody that's got system integration skills, I don't care whether that's Salesforce or ServiceNow. The skill is system integration. The other stuff is pretty immaterial. Talk to a pilot and say, what's your skill? I can fly a plane. What's the secondary thing? What type of plane can you fly? Because if you can fly a plane, whether it's a 737 or a 767 or a 747, that's just an adjustment to what they call endorsements in the flying industry. In our world, we're trying to break away from the fact that everything starts with a proprietary name and ends with the skill. I'm a JavaScript programmer. No, you're not. You're a programmer that can use JavaScript. It sounds tiny, but that's, what am I? I'm a ServiceNow expert. No, you're not. You're a system integrator that uses ServiceNow. In 3 weeks' time, you could use Salesforce just as easily. And, I appreciated your initial questions to me, and now I'm sort of being a little bit bullish about it. That is, we need to break this paradigm that it starts with the proprietary, because it doesn't. It's what can you do with what it is you do it with, not what it is.
Isn't that? I mean, you've seen a lot more TVs than me, but basically, people describe themselves in these terms, though, don't they? I'm proficient with Excel. Well, I don't know what that means actually, but Kevin probably has a better idea, because although personally I use it on a regular basis, but the last thing I'd want to put on a CV is that I can actually open a Microsoft product. I mean, that doesn't exactly put you in the top 1%, does it?
No, but I would look at that, Graham, that there's a ream of stuff that I'd kind of take for granted. That's a base level. And then there are the skills that I really want on top of that. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, if this person is in the position of I can use Excel, Word, PowerPoint, whatever on a CV, I'm thinking, hang on a minute, they're just telling me about the base level here. They're not actually telling me about the things that I'm interested in. But
that is so true, Kevin. I don't think we're going to get away from it in any time soon, because we have a lot of big players out there that the name comes first. We're doing our little bit to break away from that says, I've got guys that work for me that are programmers. They don't care what language they use. They'll flick from C# to React.js like taking a breath, because what they understand is coding. This other stuff is a bit fluffy, but it's been hijacked by the industry. They will go out there, they'll ask for an AWS cloud engineer.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you what, if you know cloud engineering, whether it's AWS, Azure, or Google, it makes no difference. It's so damn similar. Yeah. It's the concepts that are important and the work that you actually do. So, yeah, I agree entirely, Kevin, what you just said.
How much?
Isn't there a conflict there, though, with headhunters and recruiters who will take piles of CVs, do keyword searches? So, client comes along and says, I need a programmer because I've got this JavaScript problem. So headhunter straight away uses JavaScript as the keyword.
Yeah, nonsense. I had a radio interview several months ago with an organization that, amazing place. They do games. And the comment was, "Oh my God, we need C# programmers, and there isn't any out there." I said, "No, you need programmers. That's what you actually need. If there's C++ or something else, that's a migration path that is so tiny. But when you go out asking for something so specific, you are limiting your audience." And then you'll say things like, "And we need 5 years experience." And that means nothing. 5 year experience doing the same thing over and over again is nothing compared to 5 years of broad experience. Yeah. So you're absolutely right, Kevin. The recruitment industry, and even the people that engage the recruitment industry, are creating a skill gap that quite often doesn't exist because they are literally putting tags where the tags don't need to be.
Given your strong views about this, and to be honest with you, there, I think we agree with you on the idea of what you're saying. Given that that's the case, and you've been doing this for a little while, and you walk into a company, how are you? Is there any sort of evidence of successful implementation of these ideas?
Yeah,
that makes it better for companies.
I'll use an anecdote. Now, I certainly won't use the company name. I actually was fortunate enough to do a face-to-face demo the end of last week. And, you get into a conversation with a capability manager, and they're looking exactly what we just described. We haven't got enough JavaScript programmers, or, take your pick. And then you get into a conversation and say, just strip that bit away from it. Let's just talk about what the actual work is. And broaden horizons a little bit, and forget about JavaScript. Let's talk about coding and programmers. And it's not a complicated conversation, but it literally is, the blinkers come off. Like, you can go out there just looking for programmers, and for sure you might have you pick up a few weeks of, transfer of skills from whatever the specialism is, but the core of what they do is within them. So if I need somebody that is a sales, a ServiceNow expert, and I go looking for them, and ServiceNow is going crazy, so you can't find any, I could go and find somebody for BMC. They've got the same skills, and the migration path is tiny. If you can fly a plane, you can fly any plane, that sort of mentality. And that is like, this penny just like literally drops, which is, we are narrowing our focus to an audience that doesn't exist in many cases. If you talk about government, they have no chance because they cannot compete on any scale with industry. And they will go out looking for the same specifics. And all they need to do is just drop the proprietary stuff and go look for the skills, and then build those skills, not skills, but their specialisms pretty quickly. And
because actually, at the end of the day, it's just an investment in that individual. And if they don't get the right individual, or just can't find them, then something else happens. There's another issue that they're going to have to deal with as a company. So it's almost like, I'm going to pay the guy a salary, but I'm also going to allow the guy to be trained to migrate into this particular software ability that I'm looking for.
Exactly.
As well. So ultimately, you're coaching businesses in the application of human resources, presumably.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. It's, back to your question earlier on, our customer really is the employee. Yeah. And, there are a lot of people out there with a lot of skills that are totally unrecognized because they are tagged with a job title. Yeah. We need a business continuity manager. We don't have any because no one has that job title. However, there's actually 4 people in our organization that actually have that skill, but their job titles actually don't correlate. These are going to be quite weird statistics, but in our world, when we put somebody through a skill assessment, and it's online surveys, And nobody actually ever sees this, but there are 3.2 billion combinations of skills you can have. So the chances of Graham and Kevin having the same skills, pretty much 3.2 billion to 1. So,
wow.
you know,
does Kevin? I have 3.1 million, and Kevin has the odd 100,000. Is that right, Kevin?
Well, it probably is, Graham. But the thing is that if you just have the odd 100,000, you can get to mastering those. If you get 3.1 billion, you're useless at all of them, aren't you?
Yeah, no, that's fair
enough. You've raised a good point there, Kevin, because we do use analytics. So if somebody completes a survey and they've got all the skills, we just know it's BS. But that aside, what I'm trying to really represent here is every single person, regardless of their job title, is a combination of the skills that they've built up through their journey in life. You can, I can guarantee, and I literally can guarantee, because we do this all the time. I can go into an organization, we've got some right now, huge global companies. They will have 200 DevOps engineers. And I'll guarantee you that those 200 do not have exactly the same skills.
No.
The job description says they should, but that's not reality. No. They all got to where they got to through their own path. There'll be some that are similar, no doubt. There'll be some that are absolutely brilliant at some of the skills that are required. There'll be some that are less so. But the really cool thing about it is the ones that are really good at some of the skills become mentors for the ones that need to build those skills. And whenever I see that we create career pathways that says, you're a junior project manager, you need to do this training to become a project manager, and you need to do this training to become a senior project manager, I just freak out. It's like, but every one of those junior project managers is an individual with different skills. And you're sort of saying that they all have the same, like, career development path. Again, BS. It just is not like that. You know, you have this on your website. Illustrated that because you maybe had similar paths.
No, we're very different. That's one of the beauties of this. That Kevin is remarkably a good marketer. There's no question. He'll deny it, but basically he's a very good marketer. But going back to the point you were making, I'm looking at your website, and one of the things that you said we're integrated at these valuable companies. Now, in other words, just a fancy way of saying that you work with them, but you've all kinds of fairly large companies particularly in Australia there, and but universities and government organisations and obviously large companies. Now, you said that you found 3.2 million skills.
Billion, actually.
3.2
billion is the permutations of skills that an individual can have. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay. But the skills gaps found was over 500,000. And that basically suggests that I'm trying to work out how, and then you said you've got 25,000 jobs defined. I'm not quite connecting what that, because this slide out, this part of your website, I think completely underpins what you do for people. And I'd like you just to sort of walk me through the skills recorded, skills gaps found, and jobs defined.
Yeah. So let me take you through that each step at a time. So the first thing that we do when we engage with a client is we document their skill inventory. So they've got a warehouse. They have no idea. They've never done a stock take. Never. They've got some rough idea of maybe the skills, but they're not really what we would consider to be a skill. Yeah. We go in and we document what's in the warehouse. So that's the skills defined.
Got you.
So across all, by the way, those numbers are a bit out of date. It's probably many millions. So we document what are the skills that your workforce have available. Mm-hmm. Then we, against each of our clients, we allow them to define what is it you actually need. Mm-hmm. Now, there's two very clear aspects of that. There's the business as usual. What do we need to deliver our services? So that's what we call current. And then there's, let's look at the horizon. What do you need next year and the year after? So that's the future. So organizations define what they actually need. And the delta is the gaps, which is the number that you just raised there.
Right. Okay.
So we put those numbers out just as an illustration that we've got some big skill gaps.
Right.
You know, when an organization truly understands what they have, compare it to what they actually need, look at the delta, there's a big chunk of skill gaps. Right. The really good news is, because we uncover skills they didn't even know they have, because they see people as a job title, it's actually a lot better than it actually looks. Yeah. You know, like, oh my goodness, we need all these marketing skills, and we haven't got anyone with the title marketing manager. But there's these people that ran their own businesses that did marketing that have actually got some cool, and that's what we uncover. So those numbers there are an illustration of, if you're an organization, the most important thing that you can ever understand is what you've got compared to what you need. It's really that simple. Because once you've got that information, you've got the decision points, you know.
So okay, that makes no. So the jobs defined then, is that defined on the gaps, or is that that's just the number of jobs they've got?
That's just the number of jobs across all our clients.
So out of if I follow the literal numbers that you got on your screen, out of 25,000 jobs, which is about half of Kevin's football team's ground, you've got 20. So it's half full, which is kind of typical for Newcastle anyway, because who'd want to watch them? But basically, so effectively, you've got 25,000 jobs in those collective companies. You've got 500,000 or so skills gaps.
Yeah.
And then but actually, with the people that you've got working there, you've got, in this particular sake, I know you say it's 3 billion, but it's a 3.1 million, which is, I mean, a huge amount of skills crammed, but you've still got, my maths on this is, I'm going to say it's 20%. 20%, there's a gap. For every 4, I've got 1 that's missing. Yeah, now, completely. actually, it might be that you've got 4 out of 5 missing for particular jobs that they've got in mind. And here's the question: given that that's the sort of state of play, how good are HR people at defining the jobs that they require on the back of the skills and gaps dynamic?
Graham, you're freaking me out. You know, there's a very big gap between reality and a job title and a position description. And we have to live in a world of reality. A position description is only a way of getting somebody through a door. Yeah, I have to say. We work with many organizations. It's almost a work of fiction. Yeah. The actual work that you're expected to do is poorly represented in the position that was defined, partly because the definition of those descriptions are very fluid. I can go into a single organization that have got, you know, multiple departments, and the description of a project manager is massive. It's just not even close. Because they're using cut and paste and their own view of the world. Throw a framework in. Suddenly, now we've got a very clear description of what project management is at a particular level. So most of our work, so that is just an amazing question, Graham, and I've got to be a bit careful here, our clients will give us their position descriptions. The first question we ask is, does this represent the actual work that's being done? Can you guess what the answer is? It got them through the door. Yeah. None of our project managers do that. This is what they actually do. So you break away from that and say, okay, let's clearly define what your requirement is. And I sort of explained this a little bit earlier. We will employ people at a 50% match. Yeah. And that is ideal. Because I know the 50% they can do, and I know the 50% they can't do. And it means I can afford. If I want the 100%, that world doesn't exist. And by the way, if I employ somebody that was 100% match, day one of their employment, they'll be looking for the next job because they are bored. Because if you can just do everything perfectly, you guys know this, that what a boring place that would be.
Absolutely. And isn't there something in recognizing here what motivates people?
Yeah,
completely.
People are rarely motivated by money. Okay, money can be a huge demotivator. So I say pay people properly and take it off the table. But they're not motivated by money. They're motivated by improving their skills, learning new things, and achieving mastery. So if you move into a job where you're better than 50%, well, what's going to motivate you? There's very little.
You bet. We have actually an analytic. It's one of these force graph things, and I call it the, people looking for a job and the people that are basically going to put a stress claim in. Yeah. So when we measure, we have an algorithm. If you're less than sort of 30% of your job match, that's a bad place to be. Imagine you're going to do 30% of what you're expected. Yeah. If you're above 75%, you're bored. Yeah. Not everybody, let's be honest, Kevin, people, they just want to do the 9 to 5, they take a wage, they look after the family. That's cool. We don't have any problem with that. There's a lot of people, when they get 75%, what they're looking for is the next challenge. So with our people, when they get 75%, we've got the next job locked in. And then they start developing to that job because the current one is getting easy, so it's a mental exercise, it's the brain muscle. But I also do recognize that not everyone wants to be in that place. They just want to, which is fine as well.
Have you ever tried to put an outcome figure on this, Paul? Because it's all, I know some of these are government organizations, so therefore it's probably less important for them. But for private organizations who are looking for ultimately a bigger shareholder value, is there any kind of causal link between the work you do and the profits they make?
Yeah. So, having said that, it's a little bit indirect. Yeah. One of our clients has actually done that measurement, and it was more around employee engagement. Okay. And employee engagement's got a direct correlation to how long somebody stays with you. And how long somebody stays with you, whether it's a month extra or a year extra, has got a direct value. Like it's a dollar value, right. Or a pound value. Sorry, because you're in the UK. Sorry about that. Or maybe a euro value. So we do measure that, absolutely. Having said that, the vast majority of our clients don't have the basic statistics to be able to measure that accurately. So they'll know the churn rate. So if we can improve your churn rate by 2%, that is right on your bottom line, right. Directly. Yeah. Because forget about the salary, but to bring somebody on board is a salary like times 3 with all of that, domain knowledge, etc. Yeah. And I always make a very strong point with our clients. There's nothing that we're going to do that will keep somebody with you forever. But if you keep them a little bit longer, that's better than I'm going early. And if the reason they went early is because they didn't see the future, that's on you. 100% on you. Like you've got nowhere to hide. If you weren't seeing the future of each of your employees as a manager, leader, senior HR, well, you got to look in the mirror.
Are you as a person, given that you're working in the sort of tech end of the spectrum, are you as a person very positive about the future, Paul? Or are you actually thinking, geez, this really hasn't changed for 20 years?
That's an amazing question, Graham. And it's making me think. I bounce out of bed every day. So that's one aspect.
Yeah, that's good.
I think things are changing. I think people are seeing, say we use a hashtag, we own our skills. I'm seeing that coming through. Mm-hmm. To a small extent, what we provide as a solution embodies that. Like, we won't allow a manager to change somebody's skills. Mm. They have to talk about it. And we get asked 100 times, I don't agree with skill. I'm a manager. Can I change it? No, it's not your skill. Go away. Stop it. Talk to people. Mm-hmm. But I've got another aspect, which I think is is probably the most positive. And I'm going to change tact a little bit. And I'm going to draw in something that I've been working on recently. And I hope this translates over to the UK. There's a very broad group of people that are currently not able to participate in the employment community because they are disadvantaged for whatever reason. So whether it's neurodiversity, whether it's a physical disability, but the one career that is perfect for these people is a digital career. You don't need to go out of the house, and you don't need to be a team player. I get sick of the flaming adverts about, we want a team player and somebody's going to rah-rah. And it's like, some people that's got neurodiversity, that's the last thing that they want.
Yeah.
And stop it. Like, let people do what they're good at and stop trying to pretend that we've all got to go to barbecues at the weekend. It drives me crazy. I like barbecues at the weekend. I'm in Australia.
Yeah.
But, the bit that I'm working on right now is giving those people the opportunity to demonstrate their potential.
Yeah. And
with the right support services, they can be massively productive. I can see people that are on the spectrum that would be the best people in the world to hack government systems before the bad people hack them.
Yeah. No.
Because now, and it all comes down to skills. I just leave you with something, Graham. I had a conversation with a guy. He was a records manager, and a very uncomfortable conversation. Like, he just kept saying to me, I'm a librarian, I just manage records. You dig a little deeper, and he said, oh, well, the last job I worked at a bank, and what do you do at the bank? And he explained it. I said, I'm going to show you a skill and tell me whether that was a skill. And it's called digital forensics. That skill is a very, very high value skill. And he read it and he said, that's exactly what I did. He could see patterns in data. Right? He was just a record keeper in a government agency because he couldn't communicate what he was actually able to do. He walked out the room. He was literally bouncing because we found a skill that was one of the most valuable skills that organization could ever have. And they would have gone out and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring it in. Now, I'm hoping that guy is in their cybersecurity team. I don't know.
Yeah.
We walked away.
Yeah.
But that is what bounces me. And that's why I'm positive, because we're missing in a digital world. We don't have to be Google rah-rah. Let's all go partying and, stop it. Let's concentrate on what you're good at.
I love your enthusiasm for this, and I think you are positive about the future. I think it's a massive challenge, and it is a bit like eating an elephant. And I think the point is you've just got to take it one step at a time. But Skills TX, we can find out more about Skills TX at skillstx.com. And there you'll probably run into Paul Collins along with his team, quite a few people on your team. Kevin, I don't know about you, but I think Paul's been a great guest with a great subject on the Next 100 Days podcast. Thanks very much indeed, Paul.
So, Graham, that was fascinating. Paul there has put a real framework around something I've intuitively known has been a problem for years. And I suppose for me, it started working in ICI, huge corporate, and having personal friends who certainly weren't at the sort of management level that I was at, or a much lower level. But I can think of one particular individual. He was reasonably low clerical staff. Outside of work, he was youth leader in one of the biggest churches in the Teesside area, doing all sorts of stuff and doing something that was way above his pay grade in ICI. Now, and these examples happen all over the place. And if I'm with a client and looking at a lean workshop, we might be going through the 7 wastes, looking for cost savings and efficiencies in the system. And the 7 wastes of lean are well laid out. I always introduce an 8th one, which is about your people. How many wasted talents have you got here? What is it your people can do that you're not even tapping into?
That's such a great point, Kevin. And I think this is exactly what Paul's business is about. There's such an overlap in what you've just said and what Skills TX can do for companies. I guess every single organization, whether it's public or private, will have this problem. Every single one. There are all kinds of strands to this, which, people do grow with experience. And Paul was saying 70% of their skills are usually born out of experience and, just doing stuff on a repetitive or basis that basically their skills get better. And I think that's just true. And then there's a bit of 20%, which might be to do with, mentoring, coaching, all that kind of stuff. By the way, Kevin, don't do it this way, do it that way. It'll be better for your health, better for us, whatever. And then that 1% for 10% formal education. So you can't not have formal education. You can't not have coaching. So an organization, to learn from this episode, has to be thinking to itself the point you've just made, which is you've got a bunch of skills, a lot more than you probably imagine, and you've got a bunch of jobs. Probably quite a number of them are not functional in terms of what you think they should be doing with what they perhaps should be doing. And you've got a bunch of people who probably can fill quite a number of those roles because they've got skills that you've never tapped into.
Exactly. And I think managers, leaders, take note that don't start highlighting and being negative about the 50% that somebody can't do in their job. Be very positive about the 50% they can do and can do well, because there's nothing more demotivating to an individual than being told they can't do something and not being given the chance to do it, when in fact they have the potential to do it perfectly well.
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't quite know what to expect from this exercise, because it was an area that I'm not sort of, I'm not an HR person, I've learned so much from Paul, but also just by thinking through the issues, it is a big challenge for companies, and I think today, Kevin, it's been another great podcast, well, I've got to tell you that I've been Graham Arrowsmith.
And I've been Kevin Appleby. Goodbye.
Goodbye.